Hey, Mike, we're back with season 8 of HAVAN's podcast, Measure Twice, Cut Once.
It's always great to be back in the studio and always great to be having these amazing conversations, especially this season, because this season is focusing on award-winning projects. And there's absolutely nothing better. Well, let's take it a step back. There's nothing better than seeing amazing people win the awards that they so deserve. But beyond that, it's great learning from people who've gone through this process because they can show us the process of how they got to where they got, but also some of the insight that went into creating that project. So we're really excited about this episode, and we are today welcoming Andrew Kennedy, who's the owner and operator of Kennedy Construction, and Jessica Bremner, the principal designer of Jessica Bremner Design Studio. Welcome to Measure Twice, Cut Once.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm excited to finally have Andrew on the show because at the awards, Andrew tried to avoid my red carpet. So finally I get you on the microphone.
I wasn't avoiding. I didn't notice you were trying to find me.
You were just too excited about your wins.
It's probably what it was. I was running around with my
gloating,
words.
Yeah.
Well, and so you should. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you think about how many projects are built in the Lower Mainland every year. And then of those, how many are even nominated and those who become finalists. So you're already in a very elite group of people. And then to walk up on stage, wow, that's a big honor. That don't glaze over that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and we've worked together for years, so I think winning together for me also meant a lot.
Yeah, it was really awesome because, I mean, Jessica used to work with me in our office. She started as a young designer, and it was great having her, work through me and watch her grow and become an amazing designer she is today. So.
And yeah, now we still love working together. It's just always been a really natural fit. I've known the team and the people kind of on the ground building. So it's always really nice to have that like open communication and friendly rapport with the people that you're working with.
It's also a big honor to be interviewed by Jen on the red carpet, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Hey, I'm sorry about that, Jen.
It
Next
could be
year
next year
when you
awards.
win more. I really love your story though, because usually when we meet contractors and designers, they meet on a project. I like the fact that you actually started at Kennedy Construction.
He hired me when I was still in design school. So there was a lot of learning on my part together, and he's taught me so much. So it's just, again, a natural fit.
Yeah. I think the great thing is that Jessica worked with us. That she understands building from the ground up, and she understands the process, and she's, done it, and she's done, a bit of project coordination for us, and she's always been great with the clients, and
Well, I think you just underscored one of the hallmarks of success in this business. And the one consistency that we've seen, holy moly, in 8 seasons of doing this now, is that firstly, these projects don't come to life with any one person. It takes a team. And secondly, when you're
100%.
working with the right designer, they have relationships with great builders. When you're working with great builders, they have relationships with great designers. And it just underscores what we've been saying all along. Pick your team very, very carefully, because the team you pick correlates the results you pick. You have a good experience, you might have an okay experience, you might be winning HAVAN awards. It all depends on who you choose to work with. And it sounds like you guys have a great synergy.
I couldn't agree with that more. Having like a good team is the formula to a successful, smooth project, because that communication is so essential to a positive outcome, I think, for everyone.
Well, I imagine the accountability too, because we have 2 people who don't know each other, the passing the buck could occur, but I know that's probably not going to ever happen here. So you actually have better communication forwarding to better end results, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And Andrew has now set the bar high for you for when you work with other builders, right?
Full honesty, it's so hard because building that trust, designers have a bad rap. Like, we all know this. We all know that it's like an undertone with contractors. Oh, this designer. And I never feel that way when I work with Kennedy Construction. Maybe they talk a little bit behind my back. They should.
No, we
sometimes.
don't.
Oh, whatever. But there is a respect that's being built. And I think that's so important.
It is because you're not going to be able to get the end result. I know from being involved in construction through my family's business. And it's like, again, going back, it's a team. And when you don't understand each other or you discount someone's work because you have an opinion of how that job should look and feel, it's
Yeah.
not going to work out for the client. And that's the end of the day. That's why you're doing it. It's not for you guys. You're not going to live in the house with the clients. If you do, that's a totally different story. But you want to make sure the client has a great experience.
Well, and sometimes I have like these ideas and I'm not always sure how to like bring them to vision, but I can call up these guys and be like, is this a crazy idea? How about we try this? And they're like, yes, this is how we can do it. This is how much it's going to cost. And we can work together to like make something that's feasible, functional, on budget. And it's just a casual phone calling conversation. I talk to these guys like multiple times a day. So it's nice to have that.
Was there anything in any of the projects that you won for that you had to give one of those phone calls to see if it was feasible?
Oh, it happens on every project. So, for example, our accessibility home, we really wanted to vault the main space and we really wanted to do this like ceiling detail in the primary. It was a total pain in the butt. We had to bring in the engineer work, but they understood the vision and they trusted the vision, and we worked together to create something that really changed the feel of the space, especially for a little rancher.
Well, let's dive into these projects because unfortunately we only have limited time. I mean, if we had 4 hours, we could really get granular here, but we don't, at least not this episode. So the couple projects that you won awards for, and it was great. We were all at the awards as well, and we love seeing our colleagues go up there and win those awards. It's so awesome to see, and you know, you guys look pretty happy, so that's a great sign. Yeah. Let's talk about the first project. So you won an award for best renovation, $1 million under $1.5 million. It was called Arborland Homestead Overhaul. Can you guys tell us a little about, first of all, the people behind the home, and second of all, what the results were after those conversations with those people and what you were trying to achieve in doing that type of renovation?
Well, I mean, it was, I mean, they were, first off, they were great people. They were very local. They've been in that home for many, many years. It's their kids, you know, their kids kind of grew up. They have 2 children. The kids grew up in that home. They love the area. They didn't want to move, and you know, their renovation kind of, you know, they wanted more space, and you know, so we so you know, Jessica designed a big addition on, you know, addition on the house, and then yeah, and then actually turns out we were, you know, we started to dig around the back of the house and put an addition on the back, and it turns out it was actually very old trees. It was like really poor land, so we had to quickly pivot on that project and redesign and put an addition on the side of the house instead. So
yeah, so we had done the full design package, elevations, lighting plan, everything, and we had to rework the design and the finishes in the new footprint, which was a bit of kind of you know, a surprise, obviously, but I think in the end, a lot of these things happen for a reason. I think we ended up with a much better project at the end, and a lot more functional space for the client. So I always tell my clients, you have to plan until you're blue in the face and then be extremely flexible. And that's kind of what keeps renovations exciting, in my opinion.
yeah.
It was almost like a love it or list it moment. Did you have to give them the bad news and be like, sorry, we can't do it this way?
Those pile foundations were not cheap.
Well, you know, they were very understanding people, right? So they understood, and it was just, when they looked at the numbers to make it in the back, it was going to be too expensive and too many unknowns. And so then we quickly pivoted to put an addition on the side. In actual fact, I think the design we did now, or we completed, is much, much better. It was more cost effective.
We got the vaulted ceilings.
Vaulted ceilings and a better kitchen layout, and we still had to do, you know, these pilings, you know, because it was very soft ground. We dug down and we found like old fir trees buried, and you know, just the land is, I guess, just kind of lots of fill there. So we didn't know how far to dig, so we had to work with engineers and geotechs to try to, you know, most cost effectively put some helix piles down and make that so we could put the addition on the house. Yeah.
And I think it's always hard for clients when we like look at these budgets on these like pretty large renovations. I always warn them, like, a lot of money goes into stuff that you can't see. So we need to be responsible on the design end of things, like making smart decisions there and making sure that you have that contingency. Because with renovations and large extensions, you just never know what you're going to find. So I think that is really important, just setting that expectation before you start construction that, like, we're going to find something. Because have you ever worked on a project where you haven't found anything?
No,
No, right? Like
Sorry.
there's always something. And these clients having that open communication, and
Yeah.
they were just so nice.
Yeah, I think they realized they were, you know, they were trying to do areas of the home, and they were trying to meet a certain, you know, a budget under $1 million, and they just sort of realized, you know what, this home is just too dated.
Yeah, it was their forever home, so they just decided to, one, do it all at once because bringing
Yeah.
people in multiple times is disruptive to a family, especially with kids. And obviously, having all the trades there, it does make some financial sense at the same time if you can swing it.
Yeah.
With all these things that came up, well, I guess at a higher level, what was the timeline like for the renovation, and what did these challenges do to the timeline, and how do people handle it when they go, I signed a 1-year lease for a place and now I have to get an 18-month lease for a place? Like how do you deal with these situations as they come up? Because it's certainly not unique to you guys. I think this is a very common issue where, surprise.
Yeah, I mean, luckily these people were able to, you know, obtain a month by month rental just around the corner. So they had luckily they had some flexibility in the rental as we had to pivot on the project.
What was the timeline overall for that project? I don't even remember.
It was going to be, first it was going to be about 8 months, and then it turned out to be about just over a year, I think, where we're there. Yeah.
Did those findings in the backyard, like, did you have to alter your permit? Did that delay
Yeah,
it
so we
somewhat?
had to, yeah, we had probably about a 2-month delay where we had to do revisions and then resubmit, and then we had the geotechs in there, and then Christmas came, and then it was weather, it snowed a lot, so it was probably a couple of weeks where we couldn't really do any drilling in the backyard there. So
And I think this is like when stuff like this comes up, it really speaks to like the relationship you have with the client, right? Like those expectations that you have set and the open communication that you've set and the team like working together to make up time, come up with solutions, and just like reassure the client that it's going to be okay, right? Renovations are stressful. And I think if they see us sweat, it just makes them feel a little bit
Yeah.
more stressed.
I mean, we had constant communication with them, so
And having the right builder too,
Yeah.
because the thing is, when you're dealing with property, especially in Orphan, you can have rock that you have to blast, or like you said, you had some maybe more squishier ground. So if somebody hires a contractor that's not necessarily going to hire the geotech, know what they're looking for, you know, the foundation of whatever structure you're going to build is going to collapse in a few months, might not even get approved. So it's really important to have somebody that knows what they're doing.
Well, and if you don't have a team that especially like knows the area, knows the permit process, like that can cause a lot of delays on your project. Like if we run into these issues, we know the specialists that we need to talk to. We know who we need to connect with at the district or the city to kind of work through these things in a very efficient manner. And working in the shore so often, like, you know, we have people's numbers, you know. We know people.
absolutely, yeah.
So this is really cool stuff, but this is only one project. There's another project, and it's a very different project.
Yeah.
However, before we can talk about that project, we have to take a 2-minute break to thank our sponsors. So if you guys can hold on for 2 minutes,
Okay.
we are going to dig into this next one because this next one is really cool.
Okay.
Not that the other one wasn't cool.
And we
but this
teased
one
it
is
a little
extra
bit
cool.
at the beginning because you talked about vaulted ceiling in the Universal project. So excited about that. Learn more in a second.
All right, let's go.
Measure Twice, Cut Once is grateful to our podcast partners, FortisBC, BC Housing, and Trail Appliances. Support from our partners helps us share expert knowledge and resources with families looking to build, design, and renovate the home right for you. For BC Housing, creating access to housing solutions that meets everyone's needs is a guiding principle. BC Housing is working with governments, nonprofits, and residential construction industry members to create practical solutions to BC's housing challenges. To learn more about BC Housing initiatives, programs, and services, go to bchousing.org. And we all need reliable and efficient equipment for better comfort, health, and safety of our homes. Whether you want to adopt some energy-saving habits or take on a major energy efficiency upgrade, FortisBC can help you save energy. Be sure to visit FortisBC.com, where you can also find amazing tips on low and no-cost ways to save energy, plus great information on what FortisBC is doing on low-carbon energy with solutions such as renewable natural gas. Trail Appliances makes everyday life better with the best selection in Western Canada, hassle-free delivery, and a price match guarantee. You'll always get the best deal at Trail Appliances. You'll love buying an appliance as much as you'll love using it. Affordable, accessible, quality housing is a top-of-mind issue for many British Columbians.
All right, we are back with Andrew Kennedy from Kennedy Construction, Jessica Bremner from Jessica Bremner Design. Now, the other award that you won was Best Universal Designed Home. We just want to set the table before we start the conversation. So back in the day, we used to talk about something called aging in place. However, accessibility certainly exceeds aging in place, and there's a lot of other arguments for creating universally accessible design. Before we talk into the specifics of the home, can you each give us a short take on what you consider universal design home to be? What are some of the elements? What should someone be thinking about? Because this is going to be a term that's going to come up more and more, and let's be honest, we're all getting older. So it's going to be a discussion we're going to have to start having more, and I'd love to get your respective takes on it, please.
Well, Jess, I think
Yeah, I'll start. So accessible design to me is typically single floor living. In this project, we added an elevator so that if they wanted to access the basement, they could. We also, future planning, if they ever needed an in-home caretaker, we kind of allocated space for that. And then more importantly, just the flow of how they were living. We made sure that there was larger circulation paths, good space around the bed for them to get in and out of, wider hallways, larger spaces around the island and the kitchen, no curbs on the floor, curbless shower. And then two, we added grab bars in the showers and bathrooms that they would be using on a regular basis. And what I really wanted to prove with this project is that accessibility could be sexy. And I think that when people think grab bars and like accessibility, they have these kind of like, you know, old school washrooms at the hospital. Like that's what they're thinking when they think grab bars. And I just wanted to prove that it didn't have to look like that.
Agree. I feel like I'm picturing things that I think of, like, or like a senior's home, and you're like, and even those have evolved in design, but like the really old rustic ones that you
No.
see on TV, and you're like, okay.
These clients trusted us, and we got this really modern, sexy space that was kind of moody and layered, and we love it. I wanted it to feel like a high-end resort, and I definitely think we got that aesthetic in the end.
I agree. I mean, I honestly, it doesn't even look like universal design, accessibility home. It's fantastic, right? I mean, my favorite features is the lighting. You just basically move throughout the house.
Ah,
The lights turn on down the hallway, so you don't need to flick a switch or, you know, into the
yeah.
bathrooms, you know.
Late night bathroom visits, we have this baseboard lighting that comes on with a motion sensor that leads you like through the closets and into the bathroom. Same with under the vanities and stuff. So it creates this beautiful low lighting without having to turn the lights on for safety and accessibility.
Now
Exactly.
we're getting into a space where I'm starting to get excited. Tell us a little bit more about the home. I mean, we understand how the decisions for how it was designed were taken into account. Were there any other considerations for creating that space for somebody? And I'll make this a two-parter. If someone else is considering a project, should they be considering some of these principles even though they may only be in their 40s?
I don't know if you found this, Andrew, but we kind of went through this phase where we were over like building as big as we could on these lots, right? And these kind of like McMansion, just like big boxes, oversized, using every square foot. And I feel like I've seen a trend in the last 5 years where people are building what they need and investing in the square footage that they're building. And I'm finding that a lot of people like the single floor living. They don't want to live in a 4-story house where everyone's all separate either. So I don't know. I'm seeing that trend, and I'm definitely instilling the value of that in my clients. Like, more isn't always better. Sometimes it's better to invest in the space that you have and make it just super functional. So I think that works for everybody.
And stairs are scary for any age group because
Right.
I lived in a home during COVID, and it was a beautifully built home. But man, I don't know how my friends' senior parents live there too. I lived in the basement suite, but I had to go up for laundry, and there were so many stairs in this place, and they were not very big. I don't know how they were ever passed, and I fell down them one time, and I was like, I'm all for single plain living.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've noticed a trend, like Jess said, like people are want more modest homes rather than large homes. Small, easier to clean, one level living. On this particular home, we rebuilt the garage out back, so the garage was at the same level. So we poured the walkway, from straight from the garage right to the back door there. So
And it was all heated, so they never had to shovel
yeah,
snow.
all heated walkways and stairways
What snow? We don't get that much snow.
Yeah, exactly.
But when we do, they don't have to shovel.
Yeah, yeah.
So just a lot of thoughtful details like that. And two, just in terms of like the finishes on the exterior, the type of landscaping we did, we wanted it to be stuff that was low maintenance. And two, because these clients don't have children, we could go a little bit more luxurious with the finishes. We used natural stone, beautiful hardwoods, marble tiles. So we got to kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, they have children, but not living with them.
yeah, they have children, but not
They
with
moved
them.
out a long time ago.
Adult children.
When I think about accessibility and design, something you said recently, I just didn't even think of, because I think when I think about accessibility, you're like, oh, okay, can you get in the front door? Is there stairs? All that. But like the shower, like I never even think about that, because even if I think about the shower in my parents' condo, they're very mobile. My parents are. But like, oh yeah, there is a bit of a lip. Like, what if you need assistance with a walker or a wheelchair eventually?
Yeah.
Exactly. And two, we added in a bench that was heated, so it's not
Oh, I like
right?
that.
Like just little things like that. We made sure that the location of the handheld was convenient for the location of the bench. Just all of those thoughtful details that will make daily life, currently at any age, but also as you age or need help with assisted living. And you can still do that in the comfort of your own home because it's designed for that.
In designing or building a home like this, we've talked about other areas, the bathrooms, the lighting, even the garage. How do you approach a kitchen in a home like that? Because for me, being 6'5", I can't reach any of the lower cabinets, and my wife, 5'6", can't reach any of the taller cabinets, and that just gets exasperated when we're using walkers and wheelchairs, mobility devices, and just in general. How do you fix a kitchen for people who are looking to age in that home or to, manage whatever it is they're dealing with in that home?
I love that you brought this up because we actually don't have a ton of upper cabinets. So most of the dishes and dishware is on the bottom, and we used a peg system to allow for flexible organization. So all of the dishes and everything are actually kept in the lower cabinets in the island.
What's a peg system?
Yeah, so it's like
I'm
this.
thinking pirates. I don't know.
Kind of like a pirate's leg, but it kind of fits into these different slots, and you kind of put your plates down, put the pegs around it, and the clients, they very much like organization, and they very much want everything to have its place. So we went in, we organized all their dishes, arranged all their peg systems for them, so everything fits into its little slot and area, lots of organizers and all of the millwork.
When can you come to my house?
Anytime.
Okay.
You'd still have to bend down though.
Well, no, we're going to make everything up above. I'll be the only one who gets at it, but I don't mind.
See, we can work on compromise. There's always a sweet spot in the middle that can make somebody the tall and the short happy.
I figured we're going to put a hydraulic lift in our island so we can adjust it as we need it. Hey, and every time we do a renovation, there is always some sort of surprise. And we talked about the last project. Were there any big surprises on this one? What were they? How'd you overcome them? How was everyone feeling afterwards?
Big surprises. I mean,
The basement slab.
yeah, the basement slab, we cut up a lot. And then we had to cut up a lot of basement because they added an elevator down, in the house. So we had to cut a big section out there. And then we ended up getting a lot of groundwater. So we had to like deal with that. So with drainage, and then we moved the bathrooms around a little bit downstairs. So we ended up cutting a lot of that basement slab out and repouring it.
It was very muddy.
It was a pretty muddy basement there for quite a while.
And then the mechanical room was the other big thing because we ended up doing a smart home and needed way more space.
Yeah, so we took away, I think, a closet or something? Or
A bedroom.
We took away a bedroom
Yeah.
for this big mechanical room. So because we put, he did everything. So wanted to control as much as he could on his phone. So we had to put this big AV box in there.
How many
and
racks did you have in there?
2. I think we had 2 racks.
It was the sexiest mechanical room I've ever seen.
It is. It's nice.
Yeah, the way that the electricians worked and all of the sub trades, it was a beautiful room.
Yeah, and then he wanted the nice heat pump system with filtered air, and we did the iFlow with the boiler with the hot water demand boiler with the backup system with the forced air. So
I guess getting rid of a bedroom, they don't want their kids to come visit them.
There was so many bedrooms anyways.
yeah, we still had another bedroom downstairs, and then had the big family room downstairs.
Yeah,
and then had a kind of a gym area.
Well, it's about having your priorities right. If I had a choice between having my kids stay with me or having a bunch of electronics and a rack-mounted system, I know what I'm choosing. We didn't obviously have this conversation to talk about technology, but it's something I love to talk about. Can you quickly talk about any technology that was put in place specifically we talked about some of the lighting that falls around. What are some of the other technologies that you applied in this house to make their lives easier so they could balance the playing field between what is and what they want it to be?
He can basically control the heating, all his locks, lighting, everything from his phone, from his app, right?
Yeah, he didn't.
awesome.
He doesn't like carrying keys, car keys, house keys, anything. So everything had to be keyless entry. And then 2, they're snowbirds, so they spend half their time down in Palm Desert and half their time here. So really having a home that was flexible, if there was people coming, they can give them access without them being there. And
Cameras. He put cameras everywhere, security, so he can make sure when he's away, he knows what's going on around his home. And
Keyless entry scares me. When you're like, he doesn't want to carry his phone or keys on it. I just feel like, what happens if you can't? You get locked
it's
out.
the future.
There's
It's the
redundant
future.
backup, so you have Bluetooth you can access. There's usually a
There's
keypad. There's
overrides.
usually a thumbprint identifier, and if failing that, there's the garage with a key.
Okay, because I left my phone in someone's car for 24 hours, and I was like, if I needed it to use my open my home.
Yeah, there's always override systems, and
oh yeah, there's a keypad and everything on his doors, but he can literally also use his phone, or somebody or the cleaner has to come in, or he can let
and
it
you can
open.
provide different codes so that you know who's coming and going from your house.
All right, so for the next 2 hours, we're just going to talk about technology, and
I know.
they're
Sorry,
looking at me like,
opened
no,
up
I'm going to wrap it up. So
A rabbit hole, Mike loves it.
we would talk about this all afternoon if we could, but we can't, so we do have to wrap it up. But what a great conversation and what a great working relationship you guys have developed. That's impressive. The biggest takeaway I'm looking at from this is, more than anything else, not the specifics of the design or the implementation of the construction, but how the two of you work together in partnership and play off each other to the benefit of those clients and those homeowners. And so it's no surprise when you have people working like that in that synergy that you are winning awards. And of course, chatting about the technology, let's be honest, that was kind of cool too. But overall, we really, the thing that I liked actually was the way the lighting followed people around with those occupancy sensors, because that cuts down on so many injuries in the home, just having proper lighting. So that was my takeaway from all these amazing takeaways.
And I have to ask this question to all of you. But what is one more little tip you can give consumers that are thinking of either building or renovating a home? Each of you can't share one. They have to be different.
Mine's a little sassy, but it's trust your designer.
Love it.
Both of these clients trusted the vision, trusted the process, and you can really tell with the end result.
Well, my takeaway is, have a great design team with you, and like Jessica, and your build makes our process a lot easier. And just having that relationship with Jess has been phenomenal over the years.
Totally.
Your answer wasn't sassy enough.
Sorry.
It was moderately sassy. It was all right. Well, folks, it's been a great conversation. Before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to get a brand new barbecue. So we're going to invite everyone watching this, everyone listening to this, to both like it, to share it, to tell your family, tell your friends about this episode. And if you do so, you have a chance to win a Napoleon Prestige P500 stainless steel natural gas barbecue valued at $1,600. Compliments of our podcast partners, FortisBC. Details are available at havan.ca/measure twice, cut once.
And for notes and links to everything mentioned on today's episode, including resources shared by Andrew and Jessica, go to havan.ca/measure twice, cut once. Thank you to Trail Appliances, FortisBC, BC Housing, Rami Films, JPod Creations, and AI Technology and Design. It takes a team to build a home, and it does so a podcast. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.
Thanks. That was fun.
Thank you.
High five, Andrew.
Right on.
Yeah.